My amendment would simply prohibit any funds in this underlying bill from being used to carry out and enforce Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
It's shameful that you would come here tonight and said to the Department of Justice that you must not use 1 penny, 1 cent, 1 dime, $1 to carry out the mandate. People dying for the right to vote. Friends of mine, colleagues of mine.
I apologize to my dear friend from Georgia if he's gotten angry with this amendment, and it's never my intent to do so, and I'm going to ask unanimous consent to withdraw the amendment.
Of course, that was civil rights icon Georgia Congressman John Lewis, still on the front lines, shaming a Republican colleague into withdrawing an attack on the Voting Rights Act. But voting rights across the country remain under attack. Georgia's Democratic Congressman John Lewis joins me now. Congressman, good to see you.
Well,
that
good
was
to see you,
pretty
Andrew.
quick. Well, you managed to get Congressman Brown to back down, but 22 laws have been passed since the start of 2011 alone, 17 different states, in some ways restricting access to voting. What do you think is going on here, and what are your concerns going forward as we head toward Election Day?
Well, in many parts of our country, it is sad and unbelievable that many states, governors, legislatures, have introduced legislation to make it almost impossible for the average person to participate in the democratic process. There's a systematic, deliberate effort to keep people from participating. I've said over and over again that the vote is the most powerful, nonviolent tool that we have in a democratic society. The vote is the soul and the heart of a democratic society such as ours. And people want to take us back. They want to make it almost impossible for low-income people, minorities, seniors, students to vote. More than 3 million people in the last election showed up at the polls and they were denied the right to cast a vote. That cannot continue to happen.
There are efforts to roll back access, including early voting. What is the significance of early voting and of not having to have a driver's license?
Well, early voting would give an opportunity, tend to provide an opportunity for people who would like to vote early, sometime a month before the election, sometime 10 days, or 3 days, or 15 days, to go down to a polling place and cast a vote. And people are limiting early voting in many of the states. And I'm saying to people, you must have a voter ID. In the state of Texas, if you're a student, you cannot show present your student ID. But if you have a gun registration, it's okay, but not a student ID. And there are many citizens, elderly citizens that are 80 and 90 years old. They don't have any ID. They don't have a driving license. They don't have a Social Security card.
Congressman, the other point in this is the gay rights argument. There are a lot of African-American leaders, including many ministers, who are very upset with the president and what he did about gay rights. You've spoken out in favor of gay rights. Tell me where you're coming from, because I know you have a background in the ministry. You thought of becoming a minister. You marched, of course, with Dr. King. So tell me why there is such a disconnect between many African Americans and where the president is on gay marriage.
I think it's important for us to educate and inform and sensitize people. But Dr. King took a very simple position. When people would ask him about interracial marriage, he would simply say, races don't fall in love and get married. Individuals fall in love and get married. So if 2 men or 2 women want to fall in love and get married, it's their business. No government, state, federal, or local, should tell a person who they can fall in love with and get married. And my position is very, very simple, that I fought too long and too hard against discrimination based on race and color, not to stand up and fight against discrimination based on sexual orientation. If you're going to provide civil rights and equality for everybody, you cannot draw a line, you cannot build a wall. We must respect the dignity and the worth of every human being, whether they are gay or straight.
I also want to ask you, of course, about the New York Times floating the story today that there had been serious consideration, clearly very well-organized consideration by a Romney super PAC to take a Willie Horton-style ad campaign against the president. Now Mitt Romney has repudiated it, and the head of the super PAC says that he never seriously considered it. Do you think that puts that issue to rest for this campaign cycle?
Well, it is my hope and my prayer that this issue is put to rest. But for people even to consider, even to think about something like that, it is gutter politics. It is sleazy, it is dirty, it is nasty, and it doesn't have any room in American politics. It lowers our discussion, our debate in a democratic society. It's not right, it's not fair.
And I want to just congratulate you in advance. I know very shortly we're going to be able to interview you when your new book is published, Across the Bridge. And, of course, we're talking about the Pettus Bridge and what happened in that incredible confrontation back then. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And congratulations also on your latest in a series of honorary degrees from the University of Pennsylvania this past Monday.
Well, I was very, very pleased to be honored by the University of Pennsylvania with an honorary degree.
Well, the honor was all theirs.